Hi, thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Bets for Free. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host, just a local sports bettor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And hopefully today with our picks and your picks, it's going to be another profitable day for you. Basketball bets for January 10th, a few college games, and the NBA slate. Let's knock out the college early, and then we'll get into the full slate of NBA games. First game we're up on college basketball is going to be Kansas UCF, 5 o'clock out here in Phoenix, so 7 o'clock Eastern time. Central Florida, 7.5-point home dog, conference play as they're a new member to the Big 12, or soon to be the Big 16, or whatever they're going to call it now. Kansas is obviously the top two teams, Houston and Purdue, both lost last night. I don't know if Kansas is going to lose tonight, but they have been in a serious rut of falling behind teams and then carrying it out in the second half on this one. They do normally on the road, they struggle, as most teams do. It's hard to play at another team's place unless you're just that much more dominant than they are. Only 7.5 points here though, so obviously the books expect a little bit closer game. We are as well. I'm not calling UCF an outright winner here, as we're not betting money line at plus 255 or so, but we do like UCF, though, especially first half. We're going to bet them a little heavier in the first half. So we are taking UCF plus 4 in the first half and plus 7.5 for the game. One more time, UCF plus 4 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. Next game up, going to be at 6 o'clock out here in Phoenix, so 8 o'clock Eastern. North Carolina against North Carolina State, NC State plus 3.5 at home. In-state rivalry conference game. They have to go to North Carolina State on this one. We're going to take the points in a close battle that we think is going to come to the end. So we'll take NC State plus 2 first half and plus 3.5 for the game. One more time, NC State plus 2 first half and plus 3.5 for the game. Then we'll get down to a Big Ten matchup. We've got Wisconsin going to Ohio State into Columbus. Wisconsin in the top 15, Ohio State outside the top 25, and the favorite at home, minus 2.5. We like those particular matchups of unranked teams at home versus ranked when they're favorites. So we're going to roll with this one. Ohio State minus 2.5. We're also going to take Ohio State. Excuse me here. We are having just all kinds of issues today. We're also going to take them in the first half. Let me get you that bet here really quick. Yeah, nothing like the thing crashing in the middle of the show, right? So let's see here. So we will take Ohio State minus 0.5 first half and then minus 1.5, which was available on DraftKings for the game. So one more time, Ohio State minus 0.5 first half and minus 1.5 for the game. So next game up, we're going to be on the last college game we're on. It's going to be TCU, and this is going to be same basically situation as the other. So we've got an unranked team in TCU who took Kansas to the wire in Lawrence, going against Oklahoma on that one. So Oklahoma obviously in the top 10. This is why we're going after this particular one here. So it is going to be TCU minus 4.5, minus 2.5 first half and minus 4.5 for the game. So one more time, TCU going against Oklahoma. TCU minus 2.5 first half and minus 4.5 for the game. That'll wrap up what we got going on for college basketball. Now we'll get into the NBA slate. There's quite a few games today, so we'll get into those. So we'll get into the first game, Wizards at the Pacers. Pacers just come off a couple games against the Celtics. Halliburton, was kind of okay. It looked like he might have been hurt. Now he's not hurt, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, the Pacers have been really good as a dog or just a slight favorite. The Wizards have not been fantastic whatsoever, but they have played better defense as of late, and they've went a lot of unders or barely just going over the total rather than the start of the season where they were scoring, their games were in the 260s, 270s every night. So the Pacers 7.5-point home favorite, 252.5 total in this monster here. We are on the Wizards again on this one here. We're going to take the Wizards plus 2.5 first quarter, plus 4.5 first half. And there is Wizards plus 8 money out there on FanDuel, so we took them plus the 8. Aaron Nesmith, though, for the Pacers over 13.5 points. Tyus Jones for the Wizards over 1.5 threes. Daniel Gafford over 9.5 points, over 6.5 rebounds, and over a half a turnover. Him getting 1 turnover a game seems one of the easiest tickets to cash here as of late, so we'll hop on that one as well. So one more time, Wizards plus 2.5 first quarter, plus 4.5 first half, plus 8 for the game. Aaron Nesmith over 13.5 points. Tyus Jones over 1.5 threes. Gafford for the Wizards over 9.5 points, over 6.5 rebounds, and over a half a turnover. So 1 full turnover for that one. Next game up, going to be Spurs Pistons. Pistons 3-point home dog. Cade Cunningham out again. So this last night, I think they scored over 40 points in the first quarter, and they barely scored over 60 for the next 3 after that. It was wild watching them against the Kings. But anyway, Pistons 3-point home dog going against the Spurs. I can't believe the Spurs are favored by against anybody. 238 total. We're sticking away from the side in the total, but we are going back to the Wemby well, as we have been all season long, as it's been profitable. I mean, he's missed some nights, no question about that. But we're almost halfway through the season, and these have been constant cash-ins. So his point total, though, I will tell you, is higher than it has been. It's been 17 to 18.5. It's jumped to 21.5, as he's been putting up numbers. But we will take the Wemby over 21.5 points, over 1.5 3-pointers made, over 34.5 par, that's points, assists, rebounds combined, over 2.5 blocks, and over 2.5 turnovers. He's averaging over 3.5 blocks, almost 3.5 blocks a game. He's averaging over 3 turnovers a game. Threes-wise, he's somewhere, just under 2, but he has been hitting the 3 a little bit better as of late. He went through a couple-week stretch there where he couldn't hit a 3 to save his life, and he's been scoring 20-plus points. The 21.5 is kind of the one that's kind of tight a little bit on that one, but, if he can go back to his rebounding ways where he was grabbing 12 to 15 rebounds a night as well, the par bet seems extremely easy on that one, but he needs to pick up that rebounding pace. But and the Pistons they shoot threes, but they do go into the paint a lot more. That's what helps the Wemby's blocks. That also helps the Wemby rebounds. So one more time, Wemby over 21.5 points, over 1.5 3-pointers made, over 34.5 par, over 2.5 blocks, and over 2.5 turnovers. Next game up, T-Wolves Celtics. Celtics 9.5 point favorite. Anthony Edwards isn't out. Gobert isn't out. Celtics have all kinds of, like Drew Holiday and Porzingis, and those guys are all, game time decisions supposedly. So we're going to take the T-Wolves here. We did get them at 9, not 9.5. I know Boston's undefeated at home and how good they are at home. The T-Wolves, though, are a team that can defensively lock up with anybody. So I'm not quite sure where they're coming at. Like, we won't take the over points, I think, on... we're not going to take it on like Anthony Edwards, but we are secondary players, so we think they're going to gang up on Edwards. But so we will take the T-Wolves plus 2.5 first quarter, plus 5.5 first half, plus 9 for the game. Gobert over 12.5 points. He scored, I believe it was over 20 yesterday on their back-to-back. Tatum over 2.5 threes. Gobert over 11.5 rebounds. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown over 2.5 turnovers. In that matchup. So one more time, this T-Wolves Celtics game. T-Wolves plus 2.5 first quarter, plus 5.5 first half, plus 9 for the game. Gobert over 12.5 points. Tatum over 2.5 threes. Gobert over 11.5 rebounds. And Tatum and Brown over 2.5 turnovers apiece. Next game up, Kings at the Hornets. Kings 8-point favorite on the road at Charlotte, 230.5 total. The Hornets have been horrible. No question, especially since LaMelo Ball's been hurt. The Kings have been extreme. They got lucky to win last night as the Pistons went ice cold as they were down almost like 20 in the first quarter. De'Aaron Fox has been a mystery. He hasn't hit over 25 points, I believe, in like the last five games. I swear he's hurt, but he's not saying anything. He did hit 3 threes last night, so he got over his 3 prop. But we've been betting under the last couple games on it, and it has cashed extremely well. So we're going back to the well until he proves us different. We're staying away from the side in the total. But De'Aaron Fox under 27.5 points, that is plus money. De'Aaron Fox under 3.5 threes as the line did move up. This is heavily juiced, just to give you a heads up, but I think well worth the play. De'Aaron Fox under 38.5 par. If he's not going to get the points, he ain't going to get the par. He's never going to drop 12 dimes and get 6 rebounds to go with it, so we're comfortable at that number. But we do like Sabonis, as he had a monster last night, and going against a team that can't rebound really well is always a benefit. Sabonis over 13.5 rebounds. So one more time in this Kings-Hornets game, De'Aaron Fox under 27.5 points, under 3.5 threes, under 38.5 par, and then Sabonis for the Kings over 13.5 rebounds. Next game up for us on the schedule is going to be Thunder at the Heat. Thunder 4.5 point favorite on the road, coming off a back-to-back. The Heat find the second game back on the home trips, or on the homestand, so should be kind of settled in on this particular one. Thunder have been on a road for a little over a week now. I just think maybe a little tired legs, and going to South Beach is never easy, especially for a young team. The Heat obviously missing Jimmy Butler. The Thunder really don't have any injuries to speak of that have been made aware of. But we do like the Heat in this particular matchup. It's just that the South Beach Blues, so to speak. But I still think like Chet Holmgren's going to have a good game here. So we do like the Heat plus 1.5 first quarter, plus 2.5 first half, plus 4 for the game. Holmgren over 17.5 points. His point total came down, even though he scored 30 in the last game. Over 1.5 threes, over 27.5 par, over 1.5 turnovers. Then we also like Tyler Hero to have a big night, over 23.5 points, and over 3.5 three-pointers. So one more time in this Heat-Thunder matchup, Heat plus 1.5 first quarter, plus 2.5 first half, plus 4 for the game. Holmgren over 17.5 points, over 1.5 threes, over 27.5 par, points, assists, rebounds combined, and over 1.5 turnovers. And then Tyler Hero over 23.5 points and over 3.5 threes. Make sure you do check out the Google Sheets at the end of this. If Duncan Robinson threes come available over 2.5, we're going to hop on that one as well. But because we like Duncan to get about 3 threes a night off the bench. Next game up is going to be Hawks, 76ers. Hawks won 1.5 point home dog to the 76ers, total 243. Joel Embiid's already been ruled out, so we don't have to worry about Embiid coming in and scoring 60 points. And the 76ers have looked lost for the most part since he's been gone. We are going to roll with the Hawks here. Hawks getting some rest and at home, so we'll take the Hawks. We did get it at 1. It's already moved to 1.5. Hawks money line first quarter, money line first half, and plus 1 for the game. We also like Trae Young to have a big night. Trae Young over 28.5 points, over 3.5 threes, over 43.5 par, and the Hawks over 121.5 team totals. They are going to have to outscore the 76ers. They defensively are not going to be able to lock them up. But Hawks money line first quarter, first half, and plus 1 for the game. Trae Young over 28.5 points, over 3.5 threes, over 43.5 par, and the Hawks over 121.5 team total. Next game up is going to be Rockets at the Bulls. Bulls 4-point home favorite, 216.5 total. We don't see too many 2 teams anymore unless the Bulls are involved. So last night they go over this total, but they were so far under on the first quarter and first half. They had a monster second half in order to get there. The Rockets play good defense. They haven't been fantastic on the road. But they do cause havoc, and that's kind of what we're going with tonight is a bunch of havoc junk in this particular game. So Sengun under 22.5 points, under 9.5 rebounds, and over 2.5 turnovers. And then we're also going to bet Kobe White under 18.5 points. I just think we're going to see a big defensive battle on this one here. Not maybe a ton of scoring, just a lot of missed shots, sloppy passes. That's normally what Bulls games evolve into, so that's kind of the way to bet it for us. But Sengun for the Rockets under 22.5 points, under 9.5 rebounds, and over 2.5 turnovers. And Kobe White under 18.5 points. And one of the most interesting games of the night's up next, Pelicans at the Warriors. Pelicans a 2.5 point road favorite as they have been playing fantastically. The Warriors have not. 234 total in this game. The Pelicans have just played well all around. They score the ball. They play good defense. They have been. Now, can every team have a brain fart? Absolutely. I just think the way the Pelicans kind of been going, you kind of just see it, the way it's kind of rocking there. But We did get the Pelicans a little bit earlier today. They were -2. So Pelicans -0.5 first quarter, -1.5 first half, -2 for the game. Brandon Ingram over 22.5 points. Herbert Jones over 10.5 points. Steph Curry over 2.5 turnovers. That is heavily juiced, but the Pelicans have a lot of length that I think will cause some problems there. And then Klay Thompson over 1.5 turnovers. So one more time in this Pelicans-Warriors matchup, Pelicans -0.5 first quarter, -1.5 first half, -2 for the game. Ingram over 22.5 points. Herbert Jones over 10.5 points. Curry over 2.5 turnovers. And Klay Thompson over 2.5 turnovers. Let's see here. Next game up is going to be, Nuggets, Jazz. Nuggets 6.5, 7-point favorite going to Utah. 237.5 total. Not a lot of things we like in this game. Just a couple player props in this one for us. Jokic over 11.5 rebounds. Jamal Murray over 2.5 threes. And Jokic over 2.5 turnovers. Jokic handles the ball a ton. And normally his line is like closer to 3.5. But they're playing the Jazz, so came down a little bit. Jamal Murray tends to get 2 to 3 3-pointers almost everywhere he goes. And Jokic, his rebounding props have come down, but there's not a lot of rebounding opposition on the Jazz. So we think he should be able to get to 12 rebounds without sweating too hard, even if they're up huge. So we'll take Jokic over 11.5 rebounds, Jamal Murray over 2.5 threes, and Jokic over 2.5 turnovers. Last game of the night, we are invested in this one. Raptors at the Clippers. Raptors just coming off a back-to-back playing against the Lakers last night, so they're playing in the same building. They lose by 1 to the Lakers, and their coach went absolutely bonkers after the game about the free throw discrepancy in the fourth quarter, as it was like 23 free throws to 2. So I don't know if they're going to necessarily get more calls because of that. It's possible. Everybody's human, so they hear that, and maybe they'll watch the Clippers a little bit more going that way. But the Raptors did score over 130 points, supposedly against a good Lakers defense that has a lot of height. They are going to have a definite height advantage. I think the Raptors are here, even though they're missing Podol. But with Podol out of the lineup, they got a lot of 6'6" to 6'10" guys that can play anywhere from 1 to the 4 on this Raptors team. It's not a championship team, don't get me wrong, but they can cause problems. And for the Clippers who've been on fire, I think the Clippers are still going to win this game. I just think it's a tight game, and 10 points is a ton. For this one here. Clippers just came off 2 nights ago beating the Suns, but the way the Raptors are playing better than the Suns right now. So we'll go with the Raptors here. Raptors +3 first quarter, +6 first half, +10 for the game. We love Scotty Barnes. If you've been following our show, we've been on Scotty Barnes all damn season long. Over 19.5 points and over 1.5 threes. James Harden over 2.5 turnovers because that cash is at an alarming rate. And Raptors over the 113.5 team total. So one more time in this Raptors-Clippers game. Raptors +3 first quarter, +6 first half, +10 for the game. Barnes over 19.5 points and over 1.5 threes. Harden over 2.5 turnovers. And then Raptors over the 113.5 team total. So like we mentioned maybe a couple times before in the show, make sure at the end of every episode that we have in the comments section, there will be a link to our Google Sheet. This is a ledger of all of our bets. Basically our bet, what juice we got it at, how many units, and then where we placed the bet at, and then obviously the result once the games are over. So make sure you do check that out. As we are a volume better, there are a ton of bets. So make sure you do check those out. We understand not everybody's going to do exactly what we do here, as everybody's got their own opinion about things. But basically, we're laying out a blueprint. We're about 2,500 units up on basketball this season. If you want to look at football bets as we move into the playoffs, we're 2,400 units up in football for the season. Probably the hardest one to gauge as well is football, as it's the most heavily bet sport. Therefore, the book's the most interested in it and dialing it in even more. The NBA, I think there's a lot of value, and same thing with college basketball and especially baseball. If you're a baseball better at all, we had a monster season, over 7,500 units up there. So feel free to check out those sheets when you get some time. Well worth it. And as always, if you could subscribe and get notifications to our YouTube channel, so when we drop our bets, you get those first. It makes life really simple once you subscribe and turn those notifications on. Basically, you'll get a notification to your phone or device to let you know Sports Bets for Free has dropped a new episode of bets, and you can check those, match those up with your bets, and give you that ton of confidence you need heading to the betting app or betting window. We do appreciate everybody's support as always, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.